In this module, students will talk about the components of social casework. Majorly, 4 components of social casework are discussed, in which we include person, problem, place, and process. So if we see one by one these components of social casework, we see first of all the problem. According to Grace Matthew, the problem of the client can be of the following types. Majorly, we can discuss that the problems can be related to illness and disabilities. A person can be disabled or can be ill or suffering from sickness. Problems due to lack of material resources, which means that problems can be related to financial assistance. And then problems which we majorly deal in social casework can be related to educational institutions like school-related problems, and problems can be related to institutionalized life or institutionalization. The client can face any kind of problem within the organization, like workplace harassment, or so a lot of problems which can be related to institutions. And certain problems which a client can face which can be said to the behavioral problems, and the behavior of the other people or the behavior of the client herself or himself, and the problems can be related to the family, the siblings, or the marital discord. Problem situations needing a follow-up service, which means like in many cases, if the schizophrenia patients got the treatment and now they have the problem to be adjusted in the society, so they are in need of the assistance related to the situation of follow-up services. And they can be in need related to the rehabilitation of the people. For example, if some people have suffered from any kind of accident or injury, and now they are in search of finding out the employment opportunities, so it is needed to rehabilitate these people in the society. Or similarly, some clients who are caught up in social problems like gambling, drug addiction, juvenile delinquency, alcoholism, and many other. So this is what we discussed about the problem. Another component of social casework is person, or we can say the client. A client is an individual who is under stress because that individual is suffering from a problem or issue. So it is natural to be under stress for that client. Nature of the problem and the agency will determine the kind and extent of knowledge necessary to help him. This is the responsibility of the agency, and this is the prerogative of the agency to decide that how much information is needed to gather about the issue or the problem of the client. कि client जो problem suffer कर रहा है उससे related किस हद तक information को collect करना है, उस प्रॉब्लम को कंसिडर करते हुए, और रिसोर्सेज ऑफ द एजेंसी को कंसिडर करते हुए कि एजेंसी के कितने वसाइल हैं और वो कितनी जो डाटा है या इंफॉर्मेशन है वो कलेक्ट कर सकती है. देन किस हद तक जो नॉलेज है वो वर्कर को جو ہے وہ کلیکٹ کرنا چاہیے کلائنٹ کی پرابلم کے بارے میں. تو یہ ایجنسی کا جو ہے وہ ڈیسیژن ہونا چاہیے اباؤٹ دا پرسنس پرابلم. اینڈ دین it is important for the worker to understand the client's behavior, and it is the fundamental belief on the part of the caseworker that person's behavior has meaning and purpose whatsoever the behavior of the client is. وہ ہمیشہ اس کو ایک بامقصد اور بامعنی انداز میں دیکھنے کی ضرورت ہوتی ہے. جو کلائنٹ کا بیہیویئر ہے اس کو ریجیکٹ نہیں کرنا چاہیے, اس کو نیگیٹو وے میں پرسیو نہیں کرنا چاہیے. بیکاز ایز اے کیس ورکر وی مسٹ بلیو کہ وہ جو کیس ورکر کا جو کلائنٹ کا جو بیہیویئر ہے وہ بے شک انڈر اسٹریس ہے لیکن وہ میننگ فل ہے اور پرپسفل ہے. A person or the client cannot make the needed adjustment because of his lack of motivation and emotional stability. لیکن ساتھ ہی ساتھ کیس ورکر کے پاس یہ ٹیکنیک ہونی چاہیے اس انڈرسٹینڈنگ کی کہ جو کلائنٹ ہے چونکہ وہ انڈر اسٹریس ہے, چونکہ وہ ایک پرابلم کے اندر ہے اور اس پرابلم کی وجہ سے وہ ایک اسٹریسفل سچویشن میں سے گزر رہا ہے, تو اس کو موٹیویشن کی ضرورت ہے. اور لیک آف موٹیویشن کی وجہ سے اور یا اس کے پارٹ پر اسٹریس کی وجہ سے ایموشنل اسٹیبلٹی نہیں ہے, جس کی وجہ سے وہ اس کو پرابلم پیش آ رہی ہے اپنی سوشل فنکشننگ میں اور بیٹر ایڈجسٹمنٹ میں سوسائٹی کے ساتھ. تو کیس ورکر جو ہے اس کو کلائنٹ کو اس پرسپیکٹو میں سمجھنے کی ضرورت ہوتی ہے. نمبر 2, جو کلائنٹ ہے وہ ڈبل اسٹریس میں ہے. ہی از انڈر ڈبل اسٹریس. ون اسٹریس because of the problem he is facing, and number 2 وہ جو پرابلم ہے وہ ایک نیگیٹو ڈائلیما اس کی لائف میں انٹر ہوا ہے جو وہ فیس کر رہا ہے, ایک ایمرجنسی سچویشن ہے. اور نمبر 2 جو اس کی وجہ سے جو ڈیمیج آیا ہے وہ چاہے اس کی فزیکل ہیلتھ ہے, چاہے اس کی سائیکولوجیکل ہیلتھ ہے یا سوشل ہیلتھ ہے, اور یہ سب انٹر کنیکٹڈ ہے. تو اس کی وجہ سے جو وہ ایک اسٹریس فیس کر رہا ہے تو یہ ایک لاس, ڈیمیج اور پلس جو سائیکولوجیکل اسٹریس ہے تو یہ ایک ڈبل جو ایک پریشر ہے وہ ایگزرٹ کرتا ہے کلائنٹ کے اوپر. اینڈ دین behavior and strength in social functioning largely depend on his past experience, present situation and future expectations. بہت سارے کیسز میں کیس ورکر کو جو بیہیویئر اسٹرینتھس ہیں کلائنٹ کی اس کو دیکھنے کی ضرورت ہوتی ہے, اس کو ریڈ کرنے کی ضرورت ہوتی ہے کہ وہ کس حد تک جو کلائنٹ ہے وہ کس حد تک ایجوکیٹڈ ہے, کس حد تک اس کے پارٹ پر جو ہے وہ اسکلز ہیں, ایڈجسٹمنٹ کی اسکلز ہیں, کس حد تک اس کی سوشلائزیشن ہے, کس حد تک اس کی نارمل فنکشننگ جو ہے وہ افیکٹ ہو گئی ہوئی ہے. تو اس کی وجہ سے جو اور کس حد تک وہ انڈر اسٹریس ہے اور کتنے عرصے سے ہے, اور کس حد تک جو اس کے ریسورسز کے ڈیمیجز ہوئے ہیں جو اس کے ریکوپ کرنے میں نارمل فنکشننگ کے ساتھ بیریئر کریٹ کر سکتے ہیں, ہرڈر کریٹ کر سکتے ہیں, اور اس وقت اس کی پریزنٹ سینیریو کیا ہے, پریزنٹ ریسورسز کتنے ہیں, اور پریزنٹ ہیلپنگ سپورٹ اس کے پاس کتنی ہے, جس کی وجہ یا اس کی بیہیویئر اسٹرینتھ کتنی ہے, پرسنالٹی اسٹرینتھ کتنی ہے, جس کو یوز کر کے اس کی ریہیبلیٹیشن کے لیے اور اس کی پراپر ایڈجسٹمنٹ ود دا سوسائٹی کے لیے کوشش کی جا سکتی ہے. سو اٹ از امپورٹنٹ. اور کلائنٹ کی فیوچر ایکسپیکٹیشن کتنی ہے ایجنسی کے ساتھ اور کیس ورکر سے جو وہ لے کر کے آیا ہے. سو اٹ از امپورٹنٹ کہ اس کو ایڈورس سرکمسٹانسز جو ہیں وہ ایجنسیاں کیس ورکر کے بیہیویئر سے نہ ملیں. So this is very important. ये जो प्रॉब्लम है ये वाइटली अफेक्ट करती है एक पर्सन की सोशल फंक्शनिंग को, और प्रॉब्लम्स जो होती हैं, प्रॉब्लम इज अ सोशल फिनोमिना विच मीन्स द अनमेट नीड्स, and these unmet needs can be in economic field, can be related to medical, educational and recreational facilities. And these problems can be related to stress, and these problems can be psychological, social or physical or mental. And the problems can be multifaceted and dynamic nature of the client's problems, because sometimes one problem is the cause of the other problem, and there is always a synergy between the problems. Sometimes this synergy is positive and sometimes this synergy is negative. Positive synergy means that if one problem increases, the other problem will automatically increase. And if negative synergy is that if one problem is decreased, the other problem will increase. So a caseworker should have the knowledge of these synergies which exist in the phenomena of the social problems. Problems, it is necessary to select a part of the problem on the basis of that what the client wants and needs. It is important that the caseworker should not be independent in understanding the nature of the problem. Rather, it is important for the caseworker to understand that what the client wants, what is the will and wish of the client, and what is the need of the client. And what the caseworker's professional judgment indicates as possible and desirable solutions. Obviously, a caseworker gives importance to the client, and this is the decision of the client to decide about the solution of the problem, but simultaneously the caseworker should be able to analyze the problem, to describe the right diagnosis, to explore the right diagnosis of the problem, and also to give the right prescription and treatment for the solution of the problem in the light of the professional knowledge which he has after dealing various cases, and after solving the various problems of the previous clients, and the professional knowledge the caseworker has acquired after having a professional degree in social work profession. And a caseworker also should know that what the agency can offer, and what is the jurisdiction of the agency, and what is the limitation and scope of the agency in which an agency can offer the services or can render the welfare services for the client. This is important to understand for the caseworker, that the problems tend to create a chain reaction, that one problem originates due to other problem, and one problem causes the other problem. So it is important to understand the relationship between the different problems. And different conception about his own problems due to psychological stress or social perception. So it is important for the client and for the worker, for both of them, that their own perception about the nature of the problem, and they must know that what kind of the psychological impression and stress they can have when they are indulging in the process for the solution of any social problem or any social issue. Now, if we talk about another important component of social casework, which is place or agency. Place or agency is an organized institution for expressing the will of a society or welfare of its people. It is an organized institution which must be registered and which is adopting certain rules and regulations set by the registered agency which is under the parameter of the government and the state. And it is an organized institution or which is working for the welfare of the community people. If we classify the social welfare agency, we can classify that the social welfare agency can be private or a public agency. Social welfare agency can be primary or secondary, or social welfare agency can work on the local, district, provincial, or national or international levels. Or the social welfare agency can also be a closed or open agency. The effectiveness of services of social welfare agency depend on the resources of the agency, that how many resources the agency has, and what is the jurisdiction, what is the limitation, what is the scope of the agency, and obviously the competency of its staff, the expertise of its staff members, the human resource of the agency, and very important, the support and the favor of the community this agency within the boundary of the community and for the community people this agency has been established, how much support and favor of the community people this agency has. And then, the success of the agency depends upon the support of the community people, no doubt. And it is important that the employed by the agency, the range and nature of his function being defined and limited by the agency means that the caseworker who has been the services of the caseworker which he can provide as a casework practitioner, and the limitation of the services and the range of the services, the type of the services depend upon the social welfare agency in which the caseworker has been employed or appointed as a staff member. And so the range and nature of his functioning is defined and is limited by the agency in which that caseworker is working. Another important component of social casework is process. Process means that by which mechanism the services will be provided to the client. And the process is can be said as an art and can only partly be taught. Means this is it can be said an art as a science, a true scientific mechanism, and the art of managing the affairs to provide the services to the client. So this is a methodology for providing the welfare services to the client, a mechanism. And it's important that first contact establishment of a relationship which can be maintained throughout the case. It is important in the process of social casework as a component of social casework that first of all a healthy and constructive relationship is built up, a good rapport is built up between the client and the caseworker, and it is important to maintain this relationship throughout the case. कि अच्छा relationship जब हम process शुरू करते हैं जो कि important component है social casework में, तो ये एक बड़ी स्किल है, एक आर्ट है और एक बड़ा साइंटिफिक प्रैग्मेटिक वे है कि जिसके ज़रिए क्लाइंट के साथ शुरू में ही एक अच्छा हेल्दी रिलेशनशिप जो कि नेचर में नॉन पोजेसिव होता है, नॉन डोमिनेटिंग होता है, कि वो एक इस्टेब्लिश किया जाए, एक अच्छी रेपो बिल्डअप की जाए पूरे उस केस को हैंडल करने के प्रोसेस के बीच में. दिस इज़ इम्पॉर्टेंट, a healthy relation, to create and develop a healthy relationship between the client and the caseworker. And in this process, it is important to take the social case history. Social case history, now what is a social case history? Social case is the picture which the caseworker makes of his client, a whole picture. A meaningful picture in which the whole scenario of the client is analyzed, and the client is studied in the whole picture of his or her circumstances, and how it is established that based on the information given by the client and impression the client makes, and knowledge he has, the caseworker has acquired during his training and experience, the knowledge of human behavior and growth, the knowledge about the human psychology and the social interaction, and the knowledge about the social processes, the social institutions, and the relationship between all these social phenomena. And after acquiring the lot of experiences of dealing the different clients and dealing the different problems and issues in the past, so on the basis of that, a meaningful holistic picture is made to have a purposeful and to develop a purposeful scenario about the client, so the client can be helped in a very pragmatic manner. And history is collected, this social case history is collected not for its own sake, it is an essential basis of constructive help. This social case history provides a foundation to help the client in the coming future. Otherwise, this is not possible after having a complete, concrete social case history of the client. If a caseworker doesn't develop, it's not possible to render appropriate social welfare services to the client.